The Yerk Dominion had never known defeat. Their biomechanical war machines, sleek and merciless, swept across the galaxy like a plague, consuming worlds and civilizations with terrifying efficiency. Each conquered planet added to their empire, their self-replicating machines ensuring their dominance was absolute. They were the apex predators of the cosmos, and they knew it. When the Yerk arrived in Earth's solar system, they didn't even bother with diplomacy. To them, humanity was nothing more than another primitive species to be crushed beneath their mechanical boots. The invasion began with orbital bombardments, reducing cities to ash and sending billions fleeing in panic. Earth's militaries fought valiantly, but their weapons were useless against the Yerk's advanced technology. Within months, humanity was pushed to the brink of extinction. The fall of Earth was swift and brutal. The skies burned, the oceans boiled, and the survivors huddled in the ruins of their once great civilization. Among them was Dr. Steff Doles, a brilliant but unassuming engineer who had once worked on cutting-edge robotics. Alongside her was Captain Frank Stevens, a grizzled soldier who had seen too much death and wasn't ready to give up just yet. They found themselves in an underground bunker, one of the last strongholds of resistance. The air was thick with despair, but Steff had a spark of hope. During a desperate scavenging mission, her team had recovered a damaged Yerk war machine. Its biomechanical systems were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, but Steff was determined to crack its secrets. "We can't beat them with bullets and bombs," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "But if we can understand their technology, if we can turn it against them, we might have a chance." Frank, ever the pragmatist, raised an eyebrow. "You're talking about building our own war machines? With what resources? With what time?" Steff met his gaze. "We don't have a choice. If we don't try, we're already dead." The survivors worked tirelessly, scavenging parts from destroyed Yerk machines and repurposing them for their own designs. Steff led the engineering efforts, her mind racing with ideas as she deciphered the Yerk's biomechanical systems. Frank organized the survivors into guerrilla units, using their knowledge of Earth's terrain to launch hit-and-run attacks on Yerk patrols. The first prototype was crude, a patchwork of human and Yerk technology, but it worked. Dubbed the Iron Tide, these machines were faster, more adaptable, and capable of self-replication. Each victory against the Yerk provided more resources, more parts, and more hope. The Yerk, initially dismissive of humanity's resistance, began to take notice. Their commanders couldn't comprehend how a species they had deemed inferior could fight back with such ferocity and ingenuity. But humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt, and the Iron Tide was proof of that. The Yerk launched a massive counterattack, determined to crush the Iron Tide before it could grow into a real threat. The battle raged in the ruins of a once great city, the sky filled with smoke and the ground littered with the wreckage of war machines. Humanity was outnumbered and outgunned, but they had one advantage: creativity. Steff and Frank devised a daring plan. Using hacked Yerk systems, they infiltrated the enemy's network and uploaded a virus that turned their own machines against them. At the same time, they unveiled their secret weapon, hybrid human Yerk machines that combined the best of both technologies. These hybrids were faster, stronger, and more adaptable than anything the Yerk had ever faced. The tide of battle shifted. The Yerk forces, so used to overwhelming their enemies with sheer technological superiority, were caught off guard by humanity's ingenuity. The Iron Tide surged forward, a relentless wave of metal and fire, pushing the Yerk back. The Yerk gathered their remaining forces for a final assault on humanity's stronghold. They were determined to wipe out the Iron Tide and erase the stain of their defeat. But humanity was ready. Steff and Frank led the charge, their hybrid machines at the forefront of the battle. The Yerk war machines were powerful, but they were predictable. The Iron Tide, on the other hand, was constantly evolving, adapting to the enemy's tactics in real time. The battlefield was chaos, a swirling storm of metal and fire, but humanity held the line. In the end, it was the Yerk's own technology that sealed their fate. Steff's virus spread through their network, turning their machines against them. The Yerk commanders, watching from their command ships, could only stare in disbelief as their forces were overwhelmed. The Yerk retreated, their once mighty fleet reduced to a handful of battered ships. For the first time in their history, they had been defeated. Humanity stood victorious, not just as survivors, but as the new masters of the galaxy's most advanced war technology. The survivors emerged from their bunkers to a world scarred but free. The Iron Tide, once a symbol of desperation, had become a beacon of hope. Steff and Frank stood side by side, watching as the first rays of sunlight broke through the smoke-filled sky. "We did it," Steff said, her voice barely above a whisper. Frank nodded, his face grim but proud. "We did. But this is just the beginning. The Yerk won't forget this, and neither will the rest of the galaxy." In the years that followed, humanity rebuilt. The Iron Tide became the foundation of their new civilization, a testament to their resilience and ingenuity. They took to the stars, not as conquerors, but as explorers and protectors. The Yerk Dominion, once unstoppable, now feared the species that had turned their own weapons against them. Steff and Frank became legends, their names spoken with reverence by every generation that followed. The Iron Tide's march was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, humanity dared to hope. As Steff looked out at the stars, she smiled. "We're not just survivors," she said. "We're the future." And the galaxy would never be the same.